Now, I selected the next image for one specific reason. It's one of your amazing celebrity photographs, and it's a very good representation of a thread that goes through all your work. I feel like I see a real person and not a movie star. And that is awesome, because they create, of course, that on-screen persona. They are so trained to sell their brand, which is themselves, or their next upcoming movie, their next album, their TV show. And very often it feels very fake, it feels produced. In your photographs, it feels authentic. I feel like I see the real person rather than a Hollywood star.
They all have this vision of the persona they want to, express to the world, but it's hard to keep your mind there the entire time. My job is to keep them occupied with talking about their life or my life and sharing, and get them past the point of showing that same look all the time. If I do my job well, they'll let their guard down, maybe for a brief moment. And if I'm aware, I can capture that moment. For the picture of Christian Slater, it was a cover shoot and an inside story. And we took a break during the shoot. And during that break, he sat on the ledge and looked out. And I said, that's the shot. And I shot that image. It was during a break in the photo shoot. And it's actually my favorite shot from that day, was that moment when he just stopped putting on his professional face and became Christian Slater, the person. And I love when that happens. So I always tell my crew to have my cameras ready. Even when we stop shooting, I want to try to capture a moment. And hopefully that one instant will be the shot. And in this case, it was. And that's happened over and over and over again. Because people like you say, okay, I want to take your picture. They put on their camera face. And then you put your camera down and they relax. I want to capture that relaxed moment, because that's really the person.
And that's what you're so good at, to capture those moments that show a real person rather than a fake celebrity or Hollywood persona. Now, talking about another master, Jerry Guiones, one of the top wedding photographers, I think he puts it brilliantly. He says that all he expects from an entire day of wedding coverage is 1 second of beauty. Now, when you think about it, let's say he delivers 200 images from the day and he shoots at a 200th of a second. Those 200 images represent 1 second in human lifetime.
That's true.
So that means we don't always have to look good. We don't always have to shine. We can produce those short little pockets of magic, and they produce the most amazing wedding album.
I like that. That's exactly how it is. That's exactly how it is. Leave to Jerry to put it so eloquently. He's put it perfectly, because that's the essence of a great photo shoot. You can go back and you can find those small instances of perfection. That's when you have it.
Now, talking about great moments, let's look at image number 3, which I love on so many different levels. Number 1, it feels authentic. It doesn't feel overly produced, even though it probably is, knowing you, but it feels real. There's life in it. It looks like there's a real connection between the two. And of course, what I love also is the fact that it looks like she is clearly, absolutely beating him, which is awesome.
That's funny. So that shoot was a very highly produced shoot. It was actually shot for an advertising job for a big bank in the States. And it was that little girl's first job ever. So the male model was very experienced, and it helped her along for sure. But she was She was playing chess for real. It was, in her mind, she was beating him. So I wanted to make it feel like a real moment. So that they were really like a, grandfather and granddaughter in the park having a game of chess. And I spent time talking to her and to him about how to get into character. And for her, she wasn't playing a part. She was really being the little girl playing chess against her grandfather and in the moment. And she was proud that she was beating him and loved it. And when I can have that feeling on the shoot where it feels authentic, like this one, I've done the job right. Hopefully I've done the job right, and I can get more work like that. I love that job. I love that was her first job ever for this little girl. And that became a billboard all over America, actually, for that bank. But it was talking about a real moment. And it's a beautiful feeling if you can produce a shoot and create that, shoot that feels authentic.
It definitely feels like they've known each other for all their life.
I wish that was the case, but no, it was the first time they met was actually on this shoot. But it was fun. But also because it was the first time they met, I had to make sure that they had got a little bond together. So I made sure that they met before the shoot. They even had lunch together, the mother with her daughter and then him. They spent time talking together before they came out on set. So they built a little rapport before they walked out. But I love having a shoot like that and where you're creating these real moments and where it needs to feel real and authentic. Because then the viewer can relate to that. Say, oh yeah, I want that moment with my granddaughter. That was the idea for the shoot.
Now, the underlying idea for the photograph, is this coming from you or is it coming from one of the agencies that you work with?
No, that was actually pitched by the agency. As a matter of fact, that whole day I shot several shots based around that same feeling. We shot in a park like the shot you're looking at now. We shot in a store that we created the store, actually. We shot in a school, but all the images were made to feel authentic and real, and we had a great time doing it. And hopefully we can do it again.
So now from the commercial and the inspirational and the celebrity world into a much more serious project you worked on, which is called Lost and Found. This is a project that has touched me as a father, of course, specifically. It's about missing and exploited children. What can you tell us about Lost and Found?
Lost and Found was a book project that was commissioned by Microsoft and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. For this project, I went all over America and photographed families of missing children. Sometimes children were found. In those cases, I photographed the children after being found. Sometimes I photographed just the families telling their stories of the children that were missing, either kidnapped or abducted. It was a very hard project to do, for sure. But I felt compelled to do it because I knew it would help inform other families on how they can protect their children. And for me, that was very important. To use photography as a tool to educate, give hope in some cases, and also to heal in other cases. It was a year-long project, traveling all over America, meeting families all across the country. And as you can imagine, it's a very hard project, but touched my soul. And I believe in using my camera in ways I can to give back and help.
How difficult was it to be the photographer rather than, being the human being sitting in a corner and cry?
It was very hard at times. It was extremely rough. Not only to photograph the families where the children were missing, but to hear their stories. And then I always wanted to make sure that I was capturing a moment that they'd be proud of or want to remember. Some stories are very hard to hear. Sometimes it's very hard taking the picture, but I felt compelled to do my best and use photography as a tool to sometimes to give closure to the families, sometimes to help heal families, always to help inform other families so they couldn't have to go through the same thing. It was a great project. The book was totally altruistic. It was given away, was never sold. And I'm glad I did it. Very glad I did it.
It definitely is a project to be proud of. I think it's also important that we produce projects like these to, widen our horizon, and in your case, being known as a celebrity photographer, it often has this sort of, artificial feel to it. So I think it's essential that people know about these projects that you're doing, because it just shows the human being that you are. And in general, as photographers, I think it's only to our benefit if we produce quite a variety of work, because on one hand, it does improve our capabilities as photographers, but at the same time, which is also important, it also changes us as human beings.
That's very true. Very true. Very well said. Very well said. I like having a full life in my photography. I think if I was only shooting celebrities or only shooting models, it would get boring after a while. I need to have a full, rounded view of the world through my photography. So that means I'm shooting things that are beautiful and some things that aren't necessarily beautiful. But at the end of the day, they are things that do mean something to me.
Now, let's talk about your current project. It took you all across America to every state, but with a much more uplifting concept this time. It is your personal search for the future president.
This project is really near and dear to my heart for a lot of reasons. First, because I want to make sure I can inspire my stepson. Secondly, because at the age of 12, I was inspired by a book to become a photographer. My father gave me a book as a kid. He gave me a camera as a kid. But the book he gave me was a book by Gordon Parks called The Learning Tree. And for me to see a person who looked like me doing something that I wanted to do was so profoundly powerful in my career and how I visioned it. Before this book, photography was just a hobby. After the book, it changed everything. And I think I learned at that very early age how important it is to see visually somebody who looks like you doing great things. So this new book I'm working on, Future Presidents, is exactly that. It's meant to be an inspiration piece for every child to really believe and see that you can do anything. So for this project, I went to every state in America and photographed children from 100 families. And I photographed all these children, and then I had them each write what they would do if they were elected president 50 years from now, 40 years from now, because it's their handwriting, it's their images that really tell the story. And who knows, maybe 40 years from now, one of these kids will say, you know what, as a kid, I was in this book and it planted the seed of wanting to become a future American president. That's my goal for this book. Not only to show great images, but really to inspire children everywhere that anything is possible if you just believe it. So in my book, I had pictures of, we've never had a woman in America as president. So I had pictures of little girls as president. I had pictures of Hispanic children, Black children, Asian children, all showing as much diversity as possible, and had them all for the first time think about what it means to become president of the United States. And it's a project that I've loved. It was hard traveling around the country, and it's far and away from taking pictures of celebrities and models, but I loved it. more than anything else, more than shooting pictures of any celebrity. I loved shooting this project. It's not out yet. It comes out in the fall, but I talk about it every day on Facebook. I have a Future President's book page on Facebook where I talk about the process as we went through shooting in every state. And to me, it's the best project I've ever worked on. I've always wanted to do books that could inspire people in some way. Um, like my first book, Sepia Dreams, it was about inspiring people to dream. This book is the same way, but now it's about inspiring children to dream by seeing pictures of their peers who are writing in the same way they write and believing, I mean, really believing that, hey, you know what? I can do this. Because it's one thing to have a child's parent say, oh, you know what? You can be anybody you want to be or do anything you want to do. But when a stranger says it to a child and then enhances that saying by giving them the experience of photography, which is very profound, especially to a child, that moment stand out for the rest of their life. And that's what this book is.
Now, if you look back at your career, is there anything that you would do differently today? And if you look into the future, is there anything or any idea or project that is niggling you that you really want to do? Or was Future President maybe exactly that project that has been waiting to be done?
Future Presidents definitely is a project that I've wanted to do for a while. And I almost talked myself out of it because I felt, oh, it's too all-consuming to do. I didn't think I had the time to do it. But once I started the project, I knew I could not stop doing it, and I had completed. I definitely want to always do personal projects like that. I love doing the books that mean something. If I could do it all over again, what would I do differently? I would have done more personal projects. Absolutely. I would have done more personal projects early on in my career. I had this thing of saying like, oh, I'll do that later on. I'll do this later on. And that was a mistake. I think it's very important to always have a personal project and to put your heart and soul into it when you can, because the benefits are far outweighing the time you spend doing them or anything else you can think of that can hold you back from doing them. I love them. When I do a job for a client, say it's a big celebrity, I'm shooting it for a cover of the magazine, it's a big deal when it comes out. But 30 days later, that magazine's gone and people forget about it. They go on to the next thing. With a book project, it lasts. And it has an effect far beyond anything that we can think about photographically. It can touch lives on the other side of the planet. And it's really like the essence of your soul. It's not just you taking a picture of a pretty person or a famous person and people seeing the image as being just that. Your personal work is really a reflection of you. I love that about them.
So, based on your experience, what would you say to the young and upcoming photographers who plan to become professional photographers in a time when, you know, everybody has a camera nowadays? The magic of photography has maybe disappeared a little bit. Most camera phones these days produce higher quality images than the professional cameras, digital cameras we had 10 years ago. So most people will tell them, hey, forget it. It's not possible.
Oh, wow. So I believe business courses are definitely very important because this is a business first and foremost. You should learn the basics of photography as well. I believe that's also important as well, that you learn about shutter speeds and apertures and all this other stuff. But it's not the most important thing at all. The most important thing is for you to share how you feel through your camera. People will be around you and tell you that things are not possible. I'm telling you that they are. It doesn't matter where you are, in a small town USA or a small town anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. If you really, truly want to do something, you can make it happen. I grew up in a small town. I was born in New York City, but my family moved to a small town in Columbia, South Carolina. And from that small town, I read a book. My father gave me a camera, taught me how to process pictures, and then everything else happened because I believed it was possible. Everybody around me was telling me that it was not possible, but I didn't believe it. I believed that I could do anything I set my mind to do, and I still believe that, and I hope you do too.
Positive thinking, positive thinking. I love it. Hey, Matthew, thank you so much for your time, and it's really great that we finally managed to get together and record this show. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much. I love photography. I hope everybody listens to this interview loves it as well, or will grow into loving it. It is a real blessing to be a photographer and be able to share, who you are and how you see the world through your images. Don't take that for granted because it's special. Every moment that you capture, you can't bring it back again. It's special. Always shoot what you love. And in shooting what you love, people will feel and see it, and they'll hire you over and over and over again. That's been the essence of my career. It's why I have a career. I shoot what I love. And I think people feel that and love being around it.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I see you again very soon. And for my Swiss friends, danke fürs Zuschauen und bis bald.
Fantastic.